lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on. He
missed the complete. That is crazy
stuff.
stuff.
Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
They hail from around the globe, and though separated by oceans, they gather in the virtual world to battle, to compete, to race. Whether they're former champions looking to regain the title, new and eager hopefuls driving for glory, or legends in their own time preparing to dominate, they're all here for one reason alone: to win. Today we'll find out whose name will be forever etched into the record books. You're watching the Blondies MX-5 World Tour. Previous seasons in the MX-5 World Tour have seen upheaval in the form of talented newcomers. Nothing has compared to this season's influx of hot shoes that has turned the series upside down. 5 rounds are already gone, and the normally dominant Jan Koemans is winless, while Evan Maillard is looking at a possible championship title in his first full season. Today, the drivers will find raw speed won't count for much and will have to test their the mettle of their brains on the draft-heavy Charlotte Motor Speedway. Get ready for round 6 of the Blondies MX-5 World Tour live on the Global Sim Racing Channel. I'm Joe Peak. With me in the booth today are Ayrton Ellis and Bill Zahn. Our cameras have been provided by Dougie Beard and are directed by Kevin Brown. Ayrton, this track is probably going to be familiar to pretty much all of the MX-5 drivers by now. Tell us a little bit about this roval.
Thanks, Joe. Well, Charlotte is a standard track available to all drivers on the iRacing service, but for those that aren't familiar with it, it's about 2.25 miles long, or 3.6 kilometers, and has 12 turns, 8 of those being left-handers, but it does have a very long oval section, which is part of the roval. And then it's going to be 33 laps. These guys have to make at least one pit stop throughout the race.
As drivers are warming up, let's hop on board and see what it's like driving in one of these MX-5s around this track. All right, coming up to turn 1, watch this outside wall at the exit. It's going to come up fast, and there have been and will be lots of guys who grab a face full of concrete if they push just a bit too hard. Keep it to the left and set it up for 3 and 4. This is a fast right-hander with lots of banking, but it's essentially one corner just with 2 apexes. You can go pretty far past the line on this second apex, but be careful about those cut course penalties. Watch the grass on the outside. Easy to spin the car if you dip a wheel off. Then comes 5. Drivers who get greedy are going to face the wrath of that big inside curb. Slow it down for 6 and stay tight to the right, up on over the crest, and then it's a little lift coming into 7 and get back on the power. Honestly, 7 is the most crucial corner on the track because as you can see, it leads back onto the oval. Wait too long and you lose a ton of speed. Be careful though, if you push wide and get into the grass, that fence is very unforgiving. Now that we're on the oval, it's a matter of staying on the low line. Guys will be playing mind games the whole race since the draft will allow the slower drivers to keep up with the faster ones. The canny ones will use it for a last lap snipe. This track is Daytona-esque with the crazy and close finishes that almost always seem to happen. So honestly, you actually don't want to be in the front at the end of the race. This was Richard Losper in the GSRC MX-5, and that was a lap around Charlotte's road course. And you can see just how long that oval portion is going to be today, so that'll play a huge factor. Now, Bill, we were talking a little bit in the intro about how this championship has turned upside down. What are the points like now after 5 rounds?
Well, Joe, unlike past Blondie series, which were 15 races long, this season's only 11 races, and 5 races behind us and 5 races still ahead. Today's race 6 is planted dead center on the schedule, and the storylines for the season are really establishing themselves. Now, the series newcomer, Evan Maillard, the young freshman, sits atop the standings with 3 wins under his belt. Now, sitting second is Juris Jelenko, but because of an injury, he's out for the season, and we'll see the Slovenian slowly sink into standings obscurity there. Now, perhaps Maillard's biggest threat will come from the Season 6 champion, Richard Eklund. Now, while ranked 54th position-wise there, because he hasn't met the participation requirements, Eklund is actually only 15 points back of the top spot. But the New Yorker is out of no-show compensation, so Eklund will need to make all the remaining races, or he will start getting goose eggs for missed races as a race result there. Now, tied for third is Sam McAleer and Sergio Mora. McAleer has returned to his Season 3 championship form, while Mora, totally out of character, has found himself suspended for a race because of a sudden rash of penalty points he's picked up. Rookie Dave Gellick, defending champion Yao Freitas, and rookie Tomoki Kuno round out the top 8 there. But all eyes today will be on the 3-time champion, the Belgium ace, the Speedmaster, Jan Koemans. He's positioned himself 89 points back, poised for an incredible charge to the top. There's been talk that the fire is out of his belly, and indeed he is currently on a 6-race winless streak. That's the longest of his career. So the question on everybody's mind will be, will we see the Jan Koemans of old, or just an old Jan Koemans?
And that tells you just the quality of his driving. 6 races is the longest he's gone in this series without a win. That is just incredible that that's his bad time. Some drivers are still waiting for a win. So we are getting ready to get to the grid pretty soon. So let's jump over to the Cozy Cabin's keys to the race. Ayrton, what are the drivers going to have to pay attention to today?
Well, due to this being a roval, the biggest factor is going to be draft. These guys are going to have to manage it so well, and the last lap can very well come to a draft battle, and who can snipe the other driver at the line, so that'll definitely be a big factor. The other one is it stops, because the pit window is a lot smaller for these guys here, so they're probably going to be coming in at closer times as well, so packs are probably going to stay together a lot more, since it's only about a 7-lap window between lap 13 and 20. And the other one is turn 6. It's in the infield. A lot of drivers throughout practice and also qualifying have been hitting the bump on the inside. That sensor car actually flipping, and there's a lot of runoff space, so difficult to get back on track pretty quickly. So that's definitely going to be a big point where we might see some crashes.
And speaking of crashes, we're watching some cars having difficulty in the infield warming up there. Cars spinning on the just before they enter the oval. Now looking at Sonny Canchin, we've got about a few seconds left, and then we are going to get to the grid and run you through the qualifying order. Checkered flag is out on warm-up, so we should see cars slotting up to the grid any moment now. And just a reminder that the Quick 6 gimmick is going to change the qualifying order, and let's run through that right now, Bill.
Well, at the top of the chart now is John Deuce Allen. He qualified 7th, got moved up to 6th because of the suspension there to the drivers. 2nd place, Giannis. 3rd place, Wooden. 4th place, McAleer. Maillard in 5th, Eklund in 6th, Yaman in 7th, Kahlo in 8th, Sabo in 9th, and Van Doon in 10th.
Then 11th, it's Benjamin Lanouette, followed by Dries Nice in 12th, Stefan Oergaard in 13th, Timo Tulianen in 14th, followed by Lino Chestang, John Kuhneman, Dave Galink, Benjamin Nelson. Anthony Celentano starts in 19th, and 20th is Roy Visser, Ayrton.
Then Sonny Canchin 21st, Mihai Messison, then Billy Bob Wright, Jonathan Keir, Andy Morgan, Bias Swanee in 26th, Al Heaton, Derek Holland, Joseph Severo in 29th, Dexter Castro in 30th, and Matt Busa, Jan Koemans, Robert Ripple, and Carlos Torres.
Koemans at the back of the field.
It'll be interesting to see with Evan starting in 5th, and the green flag is out as John Deuce leads them away off to that first corner, very fast first corner, so there's not going to be a lot of braking here. We'll see how cars are able to handle it. Looks like most everybody is able to slide through there. I don't see anybody making contact with one another or the wall, and it looks like, Ayrton, everybody is safely through.
Yeah, a lot of 2-wide action. Evan Maillard actually goes off in turn 3. He's going to lose a few positions. Doesn't manage to crash it.
And so is our leader. John Allen goes off. That means that Jair Yanis is able to slot up into the lead. Now, he's one of the drivers who's won here before. Let's see if he can do it again today. He's got a good start.
John Allen has had a series of horrible first laps, and even if he starts from the front or the back, it doesn't seem to matter.
Well, right now, the order for these top drivers up at the front is Jair Yanis leading as they come to the oval. Sam McAleer in second. Allen down to third. Brad Wooten following closely in fourth, and then the car right behind him is Richard Eklund in fifth. In fact, already trying to pull up to that rear bumper, and I'm not sure if he's trying to bump draft. No, he decides to go around. He wants to make a move now.
McAleer on Giannis as well as they go around turn 4 of the oval.
Now, this will be the interesting thing, Ayrton, to see who decides to play patient and just wait in the draft and who actually tries to get by people coming down to this first corner.
Eklund and Wooten side by side as they go breaking into turn 1. Wooten does have the advantage with the inside, but Eklund manages to hold it. Has to be careful not to hit that wall. They're still side by side. Evan Maillard is closing in on them. Looks like Wooten is going to defend his position, but Maillard looking to the inside of Eklund doesn't decide to go for it.
And only on lap 2, I think it was wise of Maillard to back out of a 3-wide situation there. Now, as they head through the infield, Maillard sitting in that 6th spot where he started. And these are the guys that are really going to want to get up front. Maillard, Wooten, and Eklund. Wooten in that black machine. Eklund in the car behind that's in that gray and black machine. And then the orange and blue machine is Evan Maillard. We've hopped on board with Maillard now that we've come back to the oval for lap 2. And this, Bill, is where you're really going to see that draft come into play and start really reel those drivers in.
Yeah, now I'm keeping an eye, as you watch that, I'm keeping an eye on Koumans. Koumans didn't get in a clean lap today, so he had to start in 32nd position, and he's made his way up 6 spots up to 26th.
Now, interestingly, I thought Carlos Torres was supposed to be banned for a race, but I see him coming out onto the track.
I don't know how that worked. I thought he was off of there, too. I'm surprised he was on the grid.
Well, we've got a 2-wide situation that we're watching right now with Allen on the outside of Wooten coming into turn 1, and just behind them, we can't see it, but 2-wide situation as well with Maillard and Eklund. Eklund on the inside now into turn
Maillard
3.
spins.
Oh, and he holds onto it. Wow. Oh. Off into the grass and gets it going again. Incredible car control from the Frenchman.
He's dropped down to 10th place next to Benjamin Lanouette.
I caught just the edge of it. We've hopped back to live, but oh my goodness, that is going to be, if he's able to come back and do something with this race, that is going to be possibly a move of the season. That was amazing stuff. Meanwhile, Allen continuing to slip down as he moves up high and lets Brad Wooten go on past. Is he going to try and hold back Richard Eklund? He slots down to the inside line, the preferred line, since these cars aren't fast enough to really need to use that outside in method on these ovals. And it looks like these 3 are just going to hold form. Nope, I take that back. Looks like Eklund's going to look to the outside, as it looks like Allen is playing bumper cars and pushing Brad Wooten onto the start-finish line.
Looks like McAleer is actually trying to bump draft Jair Janis to create a lead. They're side by side going to turn 1 with Allen. Oh, just skimming the wall. He has a little bit of contact. Actually, neither of them, anything worse happens, but that was close.
Very close. And honestly, Aaron, that's one of the things whenever I drive this track that I always worry about is try not to push it too hard into that first corner, because it's so easily bites you.
Oh, McAleer just got cut off from Janis.
I just saw that myself, and it happens again as Janis gives no corner, absolutely chops the Scotsman off, and now they're going to head back to the Roval portion. So if he really wants past, he's going to get a chance as he goes very low and tries to really carry his speed up onto that banked portion. He's got a good run.
Maillard has dropped back to 9th and has Szabo ahead of him, though. But it looks like he's out of the draft, so it'll be interesting to see if he can hang on.
And let's not forget Amjad Yaman, who started just out of the top 6 in 7th position. He is currently sitting down in 6th right now, it looks like, having inherited that from Maillard's mistake, and is trying to work his way past John Allen.
Like Brad Woon and Richard Eklund have gone into the group. McAleer actually has a little bit of contact. He's going to hit Brad Woon. He's going to spin right in front of Eklund. Doesn't have contact with anyone else, but Allen actually goes off turn 1. He's going to hit the wall.
Oh, and all that avoidance, he has gone off, and McAleer's upside down, getting hit by more and more cars. He can't even exit out of his car. Now he finally is able to get out of there. Let's look at the replay. That was chaos. You can see he just comes down a little bit on Yanis. That sent him out. He hits Wooten and tumbles his car over and over. You can see Allen tried to avoid him down to the inside and gets hit by, I'm not sure who that was that just went by him, but then more cars. Interestingly, I'm not sure if they just didn't care or didn't get a word from their spotter, but someone ran into him once again.
That was Benjamin Kalau that hit him.
Yeah, and I think Tuliania might have got him, and Gellick might have got him.
We've got another car upside down, Andy Morgan on the infield. I'm not sure how he did that. Let's see if we can... he's got damage coming into turn 1 there, out of turn 1 rather. What exactly? Oh, he got tipped by a yellow machine. I'm not sure who that was actually. Looks like possibly Sonny Cancian.
Yeah, that's a yellow machine.
So, and then he gets turned around and his car looks like it's severely damaged. So somehow in all of that damage, he managed to turn it upside down. Oh, he just clipped the wall and rolled his car. Well, let's switch back to the racing on track. Poor Morgan is having a terrible day today here early in the race, and you can see Giannis continues to lead, although having yet another off track, but he's got that pack behind him. Eklund in second, Brad Wooten sits in third, then it's Amjad Yaman moving his way up steadily as everybody around him drops away, now into fourth.
Joe, let's go back and look at, there's an interesting combination back here with Koumans and Busa. Now, Busa's a new driver, back about position. No, the director found it. These guys were very fast. Busa didn't get a good qualifying lap, and neither did Koumans. These guys are swapping positions down the straightaway and really putting in some good lap times. We'll keep an eye on these guys working their way up, see if they can get to the lead draft.
Yeah, Ayrton, you were talking about Busa being a very fast driver in the MX-5, and actually is a pro on the oval side, I understand?
Yeah, he's a DWC on the oval side, so extremely fast, but it looks like a pass for the lead going on.
All right, let's jump back up. That's Yair Yanis being attacked by Richard Eklund, that gray machine trying around the outside. He goes for the over-under. Has he got it? He's on the inside for this corner, but it's going to switch back just behind them. They've got Brad Wooten looking to see if he can do anything as Eklund has to run out of room and slots back into line, back into second. But this has allowed Wooten to really close up. Just a bit of a bobble as he goes off into the grass with Yair Yanis. This allows Richard Eklund to get up to the inside. This is a very fast right-hander. He's just got a nose in. Is Yanis going to cut him off? No, he has to give way. But this means coming onto the oval, Yanis is going to have the draft.
That's allowed Szabo and Maillard to catch up to this pack. Looks like Jed also trying to make a move on Wooten.
Just to the inside, top 6 cars all in a pack together now as they head to the oval, but it looks like our top 2 might be able to break away as Amjad Yaman and Brad Wooten are starting to slowly lose track, and they're going to go 3 wide with Szabo going way up high on the outside. Oh, Bill, this could be a disaster. We've seen this go wrong before. Oh, and thank goodness they finally slotted 2 wide, and Szabo is the one that is losing out up on the high side.
Joe, if memory serves me right, I'm not sure if Yair Yanis may. I think he only has 1 victory in the series, but I think he got it here at Charlotte, if I remember right, on a fuel mileage strategy.
I remember exactly, and he was not actually very happy about that. And Maillard actually works his way around the outside of Yaman up into third now. But he said that he wanted it, to be on merit. He didn't really feel like it was a good enough win for his standards to win by fuel.
Well, yeah, on a certain aspect, this track really levels the playing field for all these guys. Maillard's really, really good, but because of the draft, everyone has a shot if they're within the top. What do you think, Ayrton? Top 3? Can you get there from 4th place on the last corner? Probably not, huh?
I think it depends really on what happens with everyone else in front. I mean, we could very well have a 4 wide finish, possibly.
That's right.
Let's jump a little bit back. We're looking at Mihai Masesan in 17th, and he's got quite a battle going on with 2 cars around him, trying to figure out who those drivers are. It's Billy Bob Wright and Joseph Iro, it sounds like. This is for 16th, 17th, and 18th position.
Joseph's a veteran. He wasn't able to get into this session to qualify, so he started at the back of the field. He's really been fast the last couple races, getting back to his old form.
Well, now we've switched to Dave Galink, and currently he is racing with Stefan Overgaard, and we might have that 3-wide situation again as Overgaard drifts high and stops the progress of Roy Visser. Still, he's going to try and see if he can do anything from the outside. Now he backs out of it with Galink on the inside. As they head through turn 1, Galink is going to have it as Overgaard gives up the ghost.
We've had so many near contact moments in just that turn 1 area. Like, a lot of guys have just been really close during that braking
And
session.
Overgaard is off. Overgaard is in the wall. We didn't see it on camera, but Overgaard is having a bad day. There he is, coming out of turn 4. We're going to look at the replay. Just drifted wide there, unfortunately, Bill.
Yeah, my friend Tom Rathie coined the phrase on this one, Velcro walls. There's a couple spots in here. Exiting the oval, you can end your day, and entering the oval, you can end your day. There's some violent crashes that happen here.
Very much so, as we watch the replay of Overgaard. But it's not done up front yet. We hop back to these top 6, and Eklund still leads Yanis, who leads Maillard, who leads Yaman, who is in front of Wooten, and at the tail is Thomas Szabo.
Meyer looking on the outside of Giannis, might even look on the outside of Eklund going into
He's
turn 1
got
as well.
a huge run, incredible stuff, and is he be able to do it? He might have the over-under on Eklund. Eklund holds the apex, Meyer all the way out to the wall, but holds onto it. He passes him around the outside for the lead. Now heading into the infield, Meyer covers him off into turn 3. Eklund has no answer. That is amazing stuff from Meyer as they've got a car off the track, and that looks like
Sonny Canchin.
Sonny Canchin, unfortunately.
Like, he hit the wall outside of turn 4.
So a number of drivers falling victim of what on the surface looks like a relatively simple track, but is a lot trickier than that, it seems, once you get down onto the race course. Now heading back onto the oval, I saw one driver, I think that was Wooten, putting just a wheel off, and that's very dangerous. You mentioned those Velcro wall builds. That's one of those spots heading out there. If you put a wheel off, very easy to then lose it from there. So you'll have to watch out for that. And as we watch them once again use that draft. Bill, you were mentioning about John Allen not really having good starts to this race. I don't know if you saw the chat earlier, but he was expressing his displeasure yet again about running into trouble trying to avoid poor Sam McAleer toppling over.
Yeah, the guy just can't seem to find a break. He sits at the bottom. He's a really good driver. Just horrible luck, and we've seen that happen. Sometimes you get on a roll and you can't shake it.
Brad Witten and Tomas Szabo. They saved it.
Wow! We have seen some amazing driving up at the front here. I can't believe both of those guys. And that was kicked off. You'll see Yanis gets checked up by Eklund just in front of him. That causes those guys to take avoiding action behind him with Wooten and Szabo. They make contact. That was Wooten, I believe, going sideways. Holds onto it. Unreal. I have never seen this incredible of driving in these MX-5s, of cars making contact and still managing to keep it together sideways.
I think that's one of the greatest MX-5 saves I've seen in a while.
We were riding on board on the replay with Yaman looking at that. And speaking of Yaman, he is actually live streaming his view from the race. You can still listen to our commentary if you ever want to switch over to that. We're riding on board with him right now, so this is what you would be seeing over from his view, basically. And he's been having a great view, but right now he's dropped back, having to avoid some of that happened in front of him. That means our top 3 are starting to pull away. Now it's down to just Maillard in first, Eklund in second, taking a look on the outside, and Yanis in third. Eklund tries it around the outside as Maillard did just a few laps ago, but he does not keep the speed and has to slot back into second place, Ayrton.
I'm getting word that Matt Busa actually has got himself up to 7th place from the very back of the field. He just passed Dave Galink, which is no slouch since Dave Galink is a former pro driver.
Wow.
Yeah, Busa. We talked about Busa and Kumans running together. Busa left Kumans behind, and Busa is he's flying. I don't know if there's anyone he can draft to get up to these lease guys, but if the pit strategy works well, he's somebody to watch.
Very much so, and I'm sorry if it seems like I'm overhyping some of the driving in today's race, but this is, I'm trying not to. This is just amazing stuff that I'm seeing from these guys, Busa included, who is trying to get his way past Roy Visser, and it looks like he's going to be able to do so as they come up to the oval.
And
Now,
Bill's right. He really needs a draft partner for when he comes to pit.
And we mentioned pit stops briefly. We're on lap 12 right now, getting ready to hit lap 13. Now, I believe, Bill, you said, was it lap 17 was the pit window?
13 to 20.
Yeah,
13.
I think Aaron and I decided it's 13 to 20, so they could be coming in anytime. Now, got to be careful when you do it. You don't want to end up all by yourself, or you can really, if you lose connection with the draft. I really think you got to wait if you're in the toe of somebody ahead of you, like if Eklund's in the toe of Maillard. I'm not sure Eklund wants to come in first.
Well, we were watching that battle into turn one, and Galink was the one able to come out on top. Matt Busa trying to battle with Roy Visser once again into the infield, has the inside out of turn four, finally able to sneak his way past, and a little bit ways back, I'm not sure if we mentioned it before, is Jan Koeman. So he's dropped Jan Koemans in all of this, which is an impressive feat. So as...
Yeah, I'm sorry, Joe. I have to, but when I hear you say the word "dropped Jan Koemans," I don't know. Are those words ever been put together in the same sentence?
Not on these broadcasts, that's for sure.
Koeman's actually made a mistake near the beginning of the race, which cost him to lose track of Busa.
And it sounds like John Allen, despite his difficulty, is actually going to try, and yeah, he's pitting out. So John Allen is getting back into this thing. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying Koemans is all alone now. So, now, what's interesting, the draft doesn't really make you go faster. So, in theory, you could run hot laps and run these guys down. It's not like two cars run faster than one car alone, unless they swap positions down the straightaway.
Yeah, definitely. And they could bump draft, though, as we watch Amjad Yaman still fighting for that fourth position with Thomas Szabo. Yaman obviously sitting in fifth right now, but doesn't look like he's close enough to make anything happen as they head through turn 5.
Brad Wooten actually a few laps ago went into the pits, and he's sitting in there for about 2 laps, so I think he might be repairing his car.
So drivers looking to get back into it and get whatever points they can. Never give up. That's a good motto to help you in racing, especially in this series where every little spot can come in handy. Now we switch to Richard Eklund, still in second place. I think this is evolving into what we expected with these guys, where it's just a strategy race for these top 3. They're not looking to try and pass each other. Just maybe at this point, I think be sneaky and save fuel and undercut when it comes to pit stops.
Yeah, well, we talked about it earlier. This is Giannis's. He's got his victory here. He knows how to do this, and he's also a quality driver. He can hang with these guys. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in the lead after the pit stops. But it really doesn't matter. Being ahead of Eklund and Maillard on this track really doesn't mean very much.
Yeah, that's very true. He can jump them, but then he's got to hold them to the end. So we'll see what they can do on that. So as these top 3 continue to work their way around, let's jump a little bit farther back and find ourselves a battle. In fact, I'm looking at that battle between Dave Galink sitting in 8th and Matt Busa. Roy Visser has been going on and on for quite a while here, as looks like Busa has finally kind of come to a halt in all of his climbing up the field. Can't seem to get away from these guys.
Well, I think he's faster, but again, he's not fast enough to shake him on the twisty part of the track where they just hang on the oval. These guys have really been going at it, and as you see them right now, they go at it again.
And that is Benjamin Lanawet. Oh! Just a little bit of contact, and they come out of it okay once again. I was going to say Benjamin Lanawet is the front of those guys in the red, white, and black. Then in the black car, it's Matt Busa with the pink rims, and the purple rims in the black car, it's Dave Galink. And just at the back in the teal machine is Lino Chestang, just for your reference. And those two up at the front, Busa on the outside of Lanawet.
Now, I'm not sure if Lanowet was always in that battle. And Lanowet's going into the pits, it looks like.
He's had enough of this silliness. He is going to try and kick off the pit stops here on lap 15. We're getting word that Evan Maillard is starting to pull just a little bit of gap from Eklund. I'd be impressed if he's able to do that. I'm not sure if maybe Eklund backed off a little bit, as I've seen him doing heading into that first corner. And that gray and red machine you can see on your screen right now, the number 03 from New York. And just to give you an idea of the internationality of this series, these top three, Evan Maillard, currently racing from France, Richard Eklund, as I said, in New York, and then that third place car, that red and white machine, you'd think it's from Chicago, that Blackhawks logo on it, but he's actually racing from Finland.
And Amjad Yaman is from Texas, and those Texans think they're in their country of their own, too, so they're in both countries.
Well, right now he's racing Thomas Szabo, and I actually can't remember where Szabo is from. Is it Slovakia?
I'm going to guess Hungary. I think it's Hungary.
Ah, that's right. So apologies to Tomas, who is an incredible driver and swaps places with Amjad Yaman out on the front stretch. I think this is what we were talking about earlier, about trying to go a little bit faster by using that draft to just slingshot each other.
They're still losing time from the leaders. They're about 5 seconds back now after that collision between Szabo and Wooten.
And that shows you how critical it is to keep your momentum up to try and stay with these faster cars, to have any sort of hope of getting a higher position. But it could still come together, because we've seen a lot of cars racing so hard that they make contact and lose time. We don't know if these top three are going to have any sort of slowdown from coming together later on in the race. We're on lap 17, so we are past the halfway point now.
Wooten and Stefan Overgaard are out of the race. Ed Wooten has not had a good finishing so far this season. He's had some early outs.
Yeah, in fact, Wooten he is not in the top 8 in the points right now, even despite his speed. But we're watching a bump draft scenario go on with Eklund pushing Evan Maillard around the track. He's got to be a little bit careful, Ayrton, because I've seen in the past sometimes you can dent the car and then hurt your top speed.
Yeah, that can definitely be a possibility, and that is probably the worst scenario on this track, because that straight line speed is the most valuable thing for these cars around this track.
Keeping an immaculate car is what these guys are going to want to hope for throughout the entirety of the race, and it looks like that gray and red machine is still spotless right now, but it's hard to tell in this darkness. And that's the other thing we haven't really talked about, just because so much of the track is lit, Bill. This is a night race, so it's a bit different from most of the races in this series.
You know, it's not as bad when we go to Sebring as like you're in the Stephen King film, but it's pretty well lit on the backside. It gets a little dark out there in some places. You know, pit stops are going to be interesting. Maillard doesn't have the experience that Eklund and Giannis do. If he makes a mistake during the pit stop, it could be his race. So we'll keep an eye on that actually when he enters his pit box.
As we switch back to Busa, who is still battling. Oh, and it looks like Galink caught that infamous curb, slides wide, but he holds onto it somehow as Busa tries to go around the outside, coming through turn 7, now onto the oval. He's got the speed, but he slides way up high, and he keeps it out of there somehow and slots back in line behind his rival of Dave Galink. Both of them swapping places back and forth. This is a hell of a battle.
Busa was actually catching up to the leaders before he came across the pack of Galink and Chastain, and ever since then he's been battling with these guys the whole time. He's actually been losing time.
I'm curious what Stephen King movie you were talking about before, because I don't know of a Stephen King movie named Sebring myself.
No, it's dark and scary over there sometimes.
Okay. Well, meanwhile, we see Busa and Galink head into the pits, obviously playing some tactics together there.
Yeah.
And we're hearing word that... go ahead.
Maillard and Eklund are into the pits as well.
Exactly. So we've got some drivers kicking it off. Now, actually, towards the end of the pit strategy, Eklund is able to jump him just barely. It's out of there ahead of Maillard, but Maillard has the inside line. And if you're wondering how in the world cars... Oh, and they make contact again!
Oh, this is going to... Oh, iRacing is being very generous, isn't it?
Oh, incredibly turning. So for our viewers not used to iRacing, as these continued to fight, and it looks like, excuse me, I'll have to talk about this momentarily, because Maillard's not done yet. He looks at the inside coming into turn 5. He's got it coming into turn 6. The inside once again has to stay off that curb, but manages to sneak by Eklund. Eklund looks to keep a nose in coming into 7, and finally he gives it up. Whew. Okay, now we can talk about what you just saw coming out of the pits. Those drivers are not ghosts. This being the digital world, iRacing gives some leeway, Ayrton, in cars touching coming out of the pit lane. Can you explain to our audience exactly what's going on there?
Well, it normally starts in the pit lane. When drivers are driving through the pit stalls, they can't have contact with each other just for safety's sake. And that can overlap a little bit coming out of the pits. So they were probably very close to each other coming out of the pits, which they were. And so they managed to stay inside each other until they completely separated.
So it may look bizarre on screen, but it's normal in the iRacing world, as we watch Jonathan Keir, who was, we misidentified Sonny Canchin earlier, who made contact with, I think it was John Allen. That is Jonathan Keir, who made contact with another car earlier on. Now we've switched back up to Eklund, who is still battling it out with Evan Maillard. In fact, they've got Joseph Arrow, and has Arrow pitted yet, actually?
No.
Arrow has not pitted, so this is for position, even though Arrow has yet to make his stop.
And Joe, I'm going to give a strategy mistake here. I think Yuri Yanis has got to come in. I don't think he's as fast as Maillard or Eklund, and here he comes now. The longer he races by himself, he risks not being able to see them again when they come around.
Well, as Giannis comes into his stall down at a lowly 55 miles an hour, our leaders of Richard Eklund and Evan Maillard are heading around just behind Joseph Arrow. Is Arrow going to let them by, or is he going to hug that inside line? He's actually doing neither, as Maillard goes very high, tries to get a draft from another car in front of him. And that car lets them on by. I'm not sure who that was, as he gets very close to Arrow, and Arrow is coming on into the pit, so he's going to let these guys by. Where is Yanis? Is he coming out yet?
Still there, still there.
Oh, it's coming out very close.
Coming out now.
Oh, it's going to be oh so close.
He got him.
Look at that.
Wow, he's got a gap, and you know, I have to attribute that to Eklund and Maillard battling a bit, as now they're working their way past lap traffic once again. They get by Robert Ripple.
I think Yanis might also be just outside of draft range as well. So if he can run some really fast laps now, he might be able to run away.
This is going to be the most critical part of his race, I have to say, Bill. If he can outpace them, he's got this thing, as long as he doesn't make any mistakes.
Yeah, now I was worried he wasn't running as fast as laps as Maillard and Eklund were, but Eklund and Maillard were battling like we talked about. Also, we don't know how short a pit, how little fuel Yanis takes, so we'll have to make sure he has enough to get across the line. It'll be interesting to see, though, if Maillard can run him down. Let's see the interval between Yanis and Maillard right now, and we'll keep an eye on it as it goes along.
Yeah, I remember that in Yanis's win, he actually won because other drivers ran out of fuel and had to come in to stop, and he did not. So that's how he won it on fuel strategy. And as we watch Eklund and Maillard, they look like they're working together as they put another lapped car down. So these guys could actually get the speed regardless if they continue to push or slingshot each other.
And Yanis's pit stop was actually a second shorter, and I'm wondering if that might have been because he was saving fuel. He was sitting behind Maillard and Eklund for quite a long time. He could have saved a little bit of fuel and taken less time in the pits.
Yeah, now Maillard's only a second back of Yanis. That's not enough.
Now, did Jan Koemans run into trouble? I'm seeing him saying in the chat that his car is undrivable, no top speed, and damaged steering. Did he run into someone?
That's worth checking. I'm going to go back and see if I can find it.
We're going to look at the replay, see if we can find something here. We're not sure if this is it.
Oh, I got it. It's the Velcro fence entering the oval.
I think that's what we might be looking at. He's heading towards it now on the replay. Oh, he does! Oh, no! So that is what has set Jan Koemans back. He's sitting in 13th, 14th. We're seeing on that replay. I'm not sure where he is right now.
Ayrton, as we're watching the lead. Ayrton, that's what we were talking about earlier. You get a couple wheels off on that grass, and there's no coming back before you get to that wall.
Oh yeah, no return. And it looks like and actually lets Maillard and Eklund by. It looks like he's happy just to sit behind and try to work on that last lap snipe.
Again, this is a driver who's won here. He knows how this game is played, so I wonder how he'll feel if he manages to get this on a draft win, if he still feels like he wants to win somewhere else. And we're not exactly sure if that's accurate. We'll have to see if we can send someone to get some stats on that and figure out if he's won elsewhere in this series. But we know for sure that he has won here. So our top three, now that pit stops have worked out for these guys, Maillard is in the lead in the orange machine. Eklund and the red and gray machine is in second. And Yanis and the red, white, and black machine is sitting in third. Now, it sounds like if most of our pit stops, all of our pit stops done, it's time for last call, Bill. Oh, excuse me. We might need to put it off just a little bit. Okay, now we're ready for it.
We caught our director, Kevin Brown, by surprise there. Let's go back to 17th position, Joseph Aro. Last call, brought to you by Blondies Bar in Long Beach. Blondies, the place to be last call when everyone gets, I don't know, what's the slogan? I'll just forget that tagline. Let's get going. There's Joseph Aro running in 17th position, one lap back. Let's move up one spot, if Kevin can stay with me, to the 16th position, to Matthias Sony as he's the last car on the lead lap. Up to Billy Bob Wright running in 15th position. And apparently we have the wrong graphic up there, but that's all right. It's Blondie's Bar in Long Beach, and there's a picture of a guy saying last call. Derek Holland in 14th position. We haven't heard much from him. Jonathan Kerr in the lone roadster in that yellow Roadster Preservation Society. And let's go up to this last one. Joe, I'm going to try his name, and you tell me if I get it along. It's Dries Nice, running
Correct.
in 12th position. Oh, we'll go one more. There's an old timer that gets a little screen time here. John Kuhneman running in 11th position in Spy Optus car. John's an old veteran and back from a long time. So there you have it. Your last call from Blondie's Bar in Long Beach. Blondie's the place to be. Joe?
And a fellow Ohio native with John Kuhneman. I do like that livery that he's got on that car, that orange and black machine. Very snazzy looking car. But as a fellow driver from Ohio, tip my hat to John Kuhneman, sitting in 11th right now, so not doing too bad himself. Potential top 10 win. A potential top 10 finish because he has 10th right in front of him, and that is that Dries Nice? Oh no, that's Lana Wet, actually, excuse me.
Yeah, Lana Wet was in that battle with Busa for most of the race. Looks like Busa maybe has left him behind.
And it sounds like we got some information on the stats of Yanis. Ayrton, what have you pulled up?
Well, Charlotte is indeed his only race win that he's gone in this series, and he also hasn't gone a podium since last season, which he only got one podium, so he's definitely thirsty.
We'll see if he's thirsty enough to try and get a second win. He's looking good for a podium if he can just hold on to these guys and keep away from mistakes. We've seen a number of drivers slip back from just little offs or contacts as these top three whittle the laps down. We're on lap 25, so 8 to go.
You know, Joe, let's talk about the Maillard and Eklund. Both of those drivers are not conservative. Can I put it that way?
I think that's a polite way to put it.
I would not be. Giannis may not be in the worst position to be in third place. He may be able to just nice easy victory here if Maillard and Eklund get a little too aggressive.
Yeah, that's very true. Those two can take each other out. We just don't know what's going to happen on the last lap, as once again, Glenn bump drafts Maillard coming through the oval portion. That was a bit of a hard hit. I'd have to be wary of that if I were him.
You know, Ayrton, I didn't mean to. I wasn't trying to imply that they're dirty drivers by any way, but they will, instead of where most drivers will leave each driver 2 feet, they'll leave 2 inches.
Yeah, we've seen that so far this season. Maillard, for being a rookie, is extremely confident in his driving ability and has left no room for other drivers. And Eklund has a history for being a very competitive driver as well. So these guys, they'll probably be butting heads a lot in this race.
Ayrton, I think that's the word. Confident is a great word for both those guys.
Confidence is on a high for our top three right now. They've got quite a gap back to fourth place, which is Tomas Szabo. And he's going to have to really haul to try and get up to those guys at this point. I'm not exactly sure what his laps have been like. We'll have to see if we can send someone to figure out what exactly he's been running and if he can try and run them down just a little bit back. Driver who's been streaming his point of view for this race, Amjad Yaman, sitting in fifth quite nicely. but he's got a ways. And I saw a driver actually put some wheels into the dirt. Was that Zabo that had done that?
It was Giannis. Giannis actually, he almost hit the fence coming out of turn 7, and he's now lost the draft.
We're actually on board with him. I'm not sure if we saw that on screen as it was happening. It sounds like we didn't quite catch it. Go ahead, Bill.
And Aaron's right. That mistake could be costly because I think Maillard and Eklund are way out there now.
Yeah, he's just got a whiff of the draft, I think. He's going to have to stand on it to try and get up to these guys, but they're certainly not going to be going easy knowing that they could maybe stretch it and make it a 2-car race, because that's one thing, Ayrton, I think these two are going to want. They want to just fight each other or nobody at all if they can really take it, instead of having 3 cars to worry about up there.
Well, that's what Eklund wants. I think Maillard would be happy to have Giannis to put some pressure on Eklund.
This is true. And we're still on board with Giannis. He put a couple more wheels off once again. Drivers getting ever so close to that inside curb that we just went past with Giannis. And I think he's going to be close enough for the draft. He should be able to start to pull them in this time around.
Maybe I can get our director to give a quick shout-out. We give a screen time to Roy Visser, running in 6th position right now. He's all by himself, nothing much going on, but that's a great finish for him. We'll give him a little screen time. Nice job, Roy.
We're looking at Roy right now. In fact, he's got Carlos Torres just behind him, but that is a car who is, I believe, a lap down. Yes, he is. So Carlos Torres is not, in fact, he's multiple laps down, it looks like, so he's not in this.
Ayrton and Joe, I just got a poke from Jan Koemans. He typed one word, it was a 4-letter word, but he used like 30 letters to type it, so not a good day for him.
Did he have more trouble along the way that we missed?
No, I think when he put it in the Velcro fence, they're entering the oval. That was the end of his day.
Meanwhile, as we watch Galink and Chestang, and this is for that 8th and 9th position, put a little bit of a gap, 7th and 8th on, Chestang is a little bit behind. That's Galink and Busa that we're watching, Busa on the inside in the black machine, trying to take it into turn 1. These guys have been battling for pretty much the whole race. They're going side by side, and Busa holds onto a slide. So that gives Galink the position up into 7th.
I think we're going to have to go back and count how many side-by-side contacts there's been going into turn 1.
I don't think there was contact in there, but there was definite car control going on there for Busa as he proves his worth as a pro driver. I guess this is a guy that can turn more than just right or left,
Yeah, it's a great premiere for him in the series, and I'm glad he's here. You know, it's too bad he wasn't up a little higher in the draft. He'd be a contender, I think. He is really, really fast.
And you know, one thing we didn't get a chance to talk about as this battle continues on is that some of these drivers are out of position in qualifying because of the new qualifying format, Bill.
Yeah, we switched. We used to have an open qualifying session where we'd run for 20 minutes, actually 30 minutes sometimes, where everyone's out on the track together. You run for 30 minutes, pretty much you're going to get a qualifying time that's about where you should be. Now we're running a 2-lap own qualifier. You got to get it done on the first lap, and if it's possible where you could have an off. If you put it on the grass, idle racing won't count your lap. And some of these guys start at the back of the field because they can't get in one clean lap out of their 2 options.
And we almost had a 3-wide situation with this battle we're watching. So the car on the inside there, coming through turn 1, manages to hold it together as everybody seems to have gotten plenty of practice driving multiple cars wide through that first corner. Galink still in the lead in the black, white, and purple machine as they head through the infield. Busa has a little bit of a run. Is he going to take a peek down into turn 5? Decides better of it. Oh, no, he takes a little bit of a look, but stays behind Galink now into turn 6, and just behind them, Lino Chestang holding on to these guys, and Benjamin Lanouette bringing up the tail of these 4.
And Ayrton, this is where I always get sad if Galink and Busa were to have a problem, because they've been racing so close for the whole race. It would be so a shame if they were to get together.
Oh yeah, and I almost wonder how Busa would do also if he actually put a qualifying lap in as well. So considering that, to keep in mind that he started in last place.
Yeah, he was back there with Koemans, and we're going to say it again, left Koemans behind.
Well, said Koemans is actually in the interview room, but right now it looks like we've got too wide between Galink and Busa once again down into that first corner. Galink on the inside this time. Busa tries for the over-under. Doesn't have enough speed for it, though. It's a very difficult move to pull there, Ayrton, because if you move it a little too wide, then it's going to go completely wrong.
Oh yeah, and also you gotta be careful about that wall that you mentioned earlier. It's so easy to hit that wall going through turn 1.
Now, I'm not sure if we want to bring Koemans in because we're getting down to the final laps here. We got to keep an eye on our leaders here. I don't know. What do you think, Bill? Should we talk to Koemans real quick?
He can do it quick. He's a veteran.
All right, let's bring Koemans in.
Jan, real quick, because we're coming to the end of the race. More trouble, huh?
Yeah, Bill, it sucks. What can you do?
You had a nice battle with Busa. Busa's pretty fast, isn't he?
Yeah, it's really quick, but I mean, my main problem was that from the first half of the first lap onwards, I had no top speed and I couldn't drive the car, so I couldn't really keep up with him anyway.
All right, well, you're digging yourself a hole, buddy. Let's get one next week, okay?
Cheers, Bill. See ya.
All right, thank you. Joe.
Back to the racing on track. We're still watching Maillard, Eklund, and Yanis. Maillard leading the way of these top 3. We're on lap 31. So we are down to these final few laps, and this is going to be it. Then the action is it's going to explode. It's like we saw in Conti a few weeks ago, Bill, with the draft track of Road America. I have a feeling that these top 3 haven't really been giving us action, but they're going to give us more than we can take in just about a lap.
Well, Ayrton, I think Eklund's in the catbird seat here. I think he's in the spot to be, and I think he knows he wants to be second. I think he's been measuring Maillard, and I think he knows he has him if he can get a halfway decent run back onto the oval.
Yeah, that's the thing and he has to. I think Eklund has to be careful not to get too greedy too early, because if he starts trying to pass now like he is now, this is going to allow Yanis to actually get in within this pack and maybe try to make a 3-way battle for the lead on that last straight.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's going side by side on the outside of turn 1 and just can't get that over under, as we said once again. Sorry, Bill.
No, well, Giannis did a good job of getting back in there, because after he made that mistake, I counted him out. I didn't think he was. I thought it was going to be a 2-car race. So my hat's off to Yuri for getting back up there with those guys.
You know, we've got some interesting information. I feel like this is probably exactly what's going on. I think Eklund is testing exactly what the draft is going to do, how soon he needs to go.
But Ayrton, maybe Giannis is in the spot to be. Certainly, you can get there from third, wouldn't you say?
It would be difficult. He would have to be really close. I mean, with this distance, he wouldn't be able to do it. He has to be right on the rear of Eklund.
Penultimate lap this time by there. Going to get the white flag, and it's down to these 3, and I want to stay with these cars unless there's a wreck or something that happens, because it is going to come right down to the wire for these guys. Eklund, once again, pulling up behind, starts to give a little bit of a tap to the rear of the MX-5 of the Frenchman, just getting them to go that little bit faster now as they head around the final corners up to the start-finish line. White flag is now waving. 1 lap to go for these cars between Maillard in first, Eklund in second, and Yanis holding back in third.
Joe, I'm going to bump in here real quick. Yuri Yanis has a technique that he's mastered, as if he can get alongside somebody, he's not opposed to giving him a little tap and giving him a little squirrely down the straightaway to to break the momentum. So keep an eye on that if Yanis can get there.
It's getting so close to the point where we need to worry about it, as we see just 2 tires off into the dirt for Evan Maillard, and he actually goes defensive down into turn 5. I would think he'd almost want to give that up so that he can maybe use the draft himself, that, you know, he'd want to be in second. But right now it looks like as they head to the oval, Maillard is going to be in the lead, so he is going to be the one that is vulnerable. Eklund is going to have the draft. Question is, can Yanis slingshot them both? Now they're onto the oval. This is where it kicks off, as they start to reel each other in, get closer and closer. Eklund, when does he go? When does he actually floor the gas and try and slingshot around? He's going to have to be forced around the outside. Most likely, he starts to close in now. Now he's got the speed up to
Perfect.
the outside. as they hit the bank portion. He has the momentum, or does he? He's slowing down ever so slightly. It may have been too late.
There it is!
Yeryanis, they hit each other. They are off. Yeryanis takes the place. Yeryanis is going to win the race for the second time. Second win for Yeryanis.
Zabo gets
Incredible.
second.
This gives Thomas Zabo the second position, and
Oh,
Richard
Amjad
Amjad is
hits
coming to the
Maillard.
line. Here comes Amjad Yaman spinning. Amjad is not going to be able to get it, though. Oh, and he spins backwards. He's got to get it turned around. I thought he was going to try and reverse to the line. What happened to Amjad Yaman?
He hit Maillard.
Maillard is trying to hobble his car is walking like a three-legged horse trying to get across the starting line.
Oh, Busa and Chastain.
And we're looking at what happened with Yaman. He ran into the back of Maillard.
And Maillard
Bizarrely.
limps his smoking car across the track.
Oh, for an
flag.
8th place finish. Oh. Wow. So, all that chaos, let's go through the top finishers real quick. Yeryanis did come home with the win. Thomas Zabo, who patiently waited behind these guys without a hope, came home with second. Eklund amazingly brought his car to third after that. Yaman, after running into Maillard, came home fourth. Unfortunately, he had an opportunity to get that podium position. Dave Galink, guy who's been a surprise quietly ranking up points, came home in fifth. And Benjamin Lanouette, very good finish for Benjamin, in sixth place. Then Matt Busa, newcomer, came home in seventh, and finally Maillard in eighth. And I think we've got everybody finished now. So let's head to break. We're going to come back with the unofficial results and some interviews. Man, we usually expect crazy ones at Charlotte, and this did not disappoint. Stick around. Well, after a chaotic and unpredictable race that came down to the final lap, it was Jere Jannes who came away with his second win here at Charlotte Motor Speedway for round 6 of the Blondies MX-5 World Tour. Tomas Szabo came home in second, and Richard Ecklund limped his car to a third place to finish out the podium. Amjad Yaman unfortunately wasn't able to capitalize and came home in fourth place. Dave Galink finished fifth, followed by Benjamin Lanouette in sixth. Matt Busa came home in seventh, with Evan Maillard in eighth. Dries Nice finished in ninth, and Roy Visser Ayrton finished in 10th.
Then Derek Holland in 11th, William Wright in 12th, Lino Chastain in 13th, Jonathan Keir in 14th, Matthias Swaney in 15th, Joseph Arrow in 16th, then 17th is Robert Ripple, Al Heaton in 18th, and Carlos Torres in 19th, and then Mihai Mesesen in 20th. Bill?
21st was John Koonman. 22nd was Jan Koemans. We had an interview with him. We know what happened to him. Anthony Celentano, Benjamin Callow, Brad Wooden, bad luck as he finishes 25th. Stefan Overgaard, 26th. John Deuce Staley. Is there a card that means bad luck? Maybe he should be the ace of spades? Is that bad luck? Another horrible finish for John. Too bad, started on the pole, going to bring in 27th. 28th is Benjamin Nelson. Timo Tuliana can't seem to get it together this season. 29th. Sonny Ketchum. Sam McAleer, his first bad finish of the season. Andy Morgan in 32nd, Simon Van Doon in 33rd, and wrapping out the field, Dexter Castro put it in the wall on lap 2. And lap 1, actually.
Yeah, and you have to feel for Sam McAleer as well, who was looking very good early in the race and ran afoul of some problems. So we've got our interviews. First of all, we have our winner, Jere Jannes, and Bill is going to talk to him.
Jere Jannes, I know you came to the United States this summer for a tour, a little trip. Did you get to Charlotte? Because you seem to like Charlotte a lot.
No, I didn't actually get to visit Charlotte, although I was kind of close to it at one point. But yeah, this track suits me and the patient style is good here.
Yeah, now you got your first victory here with a fuel strategy that won. This one you played in third, even though the cars crashed ahead of you. I think you might have had a shot for it at the checkered flag. Did you think you had a shot?
Yeah, I think so. I think I had at least a good enough run for second place, if not the first one. Of course.
Whoops, we lost you there. Okay, we lost you on the mic there. Go ahead, start over again.
Where should I go? Okay. I think I had good enough run for the second place, maybe even first. But of course, Richard and Evan could have boxed me out if they wanted to, instead of crashing out each other. But yeah, I think I was good at least for the second place, if not the first.
Now, late in the race, you were up there, and then you had a little mistake, and I thought you lost the draft. I thought it was all over for you. I thought it was going to be an easy third place finish. You were able to fight back. Were you worried you weren't going to get back up there?
Yeah, I was definitely worried. I was just on the edge of the draft, so I had to work really hard to get back there.
Boy, it must have been the edge, because you were quite back. Well, hey, congratulations! You're having a good season. This is the way to go. Let's see if we can get 2 in a row now.
I doubt that, but thanks anyway, and sorry to Sam for taking him out in the early parts of the race.
Thanks, Yuri. Let me throw it back to Joe.
Absolutely. Up next, we have our fourth place finisher. That was Amjad Yaman, and he is going to talk to Ayrton.
Thanks, Joe. Amjad, you here?
Yep.
Well, I'm not going to talk about the last lap, but I want to actually talk about pit stops, because you were right near Tomas Szabo before the pits, and then you seem to have lost quite a bit of time.
Yeah, quite simply, I just didn't estimate the draft that well on fuel. I wanted to fill up just 1 lap over the race. I ended up being 3 laps over, so that's why Tomas was about 4 seconds ahead of me.
Okay, and also there's the contact between Tomas and Brad Witten. Was that a scary moment for you?
Yeah, it actually was. I was hoping these guys would just play it safe, play it patient to the pit stops, but these guys are gunning for the win on lap 1 when you had to go to 33 laps, so it was pretty ridiculous in my opinion.
Okay, and also then there's that last lap moment with Evan Maillard smoking car. Can you tell us what it's like trying to predict like where the car is going to be and trying to avoid it?
I was trying to predict actually the smoke. He was coming because I couldn't see the car until it was too late. So I saw the smoke coming up the track. So I went down the track, and I didn't realize Evan was going to stay at where he was, and just grazed him. It ended up being no big deal for me, but hopefully it wasn't a big deal for him as well.
Yeah, it seemed like that crash between Maillard and Eklund was pretty big for the result of this race. But a fourth place finish, still a pretty good run for you. Actually, higher than it would have been if that crash didn't happen at the end.
Yeah, it's another top 5, 2 in a row for me. So that's all I gotta do.
Okay, thanks for talking to us, Amjad.
No problem.
Back to you, Joe.
Up next, we have a driver who had a very good race today. That is Benjamin Lanawet, who came home with a 6th place finish. Now, you started in 11th, Ben, and we actually saw quite a bit of your race with that battle that you had with, Dave Galink and Matt Busa and I believe it was Lino Chastang. Were you having a good time out there for most of the race trying to swap positions, or it looked like you were hanging back for most of it?
Yeah, I was hanging back. As I pointed out in the chat, discretion is the better part of valor. My strategy was just to stay out of trouble, and it paid off. That was a pretty intense race. My heart's still beating from narrowly dodging that accident right on the last lap.
It seems like there's been a huge influx of talent this season, so it makes it a little bit harder to get those top 10 finishes. Are you pretty pleased with a top 6? Are you aiming for higher, or what's your plan for this season?
I feel like I'm a pretty good litmus test of how good the competition has got in this series, because, like, I've gotten a lot better, but in Season 4 I was getting, like, 15th, and then Season 5 I was getting around 10th. Season 6, talent level increased immensely, and then I was getting 15th again. And now I'm getting a lot better, but I'm really happy to have 6th place today.
All right, well, excellent job. You managed to eke in up to the top runners, and great quiet race today.
Thank you.
We've got a couple more left to go. Next up is Evan Maillard, and Evan unfortunately managed to come home in 8th today. Evan, you started in 6th, and you worked your way up to the front and was looking very dominant, leading the way for most of the race. And then the last lap happened. What are your thoughts on that incident at the end?
Well, it's unfortunate, but I'm not too pissed about it. No biggie with Richard. It's just racing, and at least got an 8th place finish and not a DNF, so it's okay.
Did you plan to try and lead all the way to the last lap? Because it didn't seem like you were eager to give up that first position to Richard, or did you want to try and slip back into 2nd for the last lap?
No, it was intended that I stayed in front, because when you try to pass on the outside in 5th gear, you run out of power, and normally you can keep first position. At least I tried that. It worked last time. So, yeah.
So, with this being your first full season in the series, what are your thoughts on the quick 6 gimmick and how it's made it a little bit more difficult from the start?
Well, it's a lot of fun to have to pass so many drivers at the start. It makes it less boring when you're sitting in first all race long, especially on a track like that. Well, not really. It depends. Sometimes the racing can be great. But I enjoy it a lot.
Well, the good news is, or at least for you, that Jan Koemens is still winless, and you've still got 3 this season, so you're still looking very good. Commiserations on the 8th place finish, and we look forward to seeing you at Lime Rock.
Yeah, I'll be there. See you there.
We're going to do one more real quick interview. We're going to talk to Richard Eklund, who did round out the podium today. Richard, we're talking to Evan just a bit ago about the draft battle and the strategy. It sounded like Evan wanted to be in that first position on that last lap. Did you want to be in that 2nd position when you saw that white flag?
Yeah, I did want to be in 2nd, so that's why I was staying behind Evan most of the time. But I just made a mistake, and I forgot how the net code is a little more severe on the ovals than the roadside. And I just pushed the side draft a little too much with Evan, so ended up taking him out and myself also, but at least we both finished. I just feel pretty stupid for doing that.
When you, Evan, and Yair were fighting for most of the last end of the race, were you wanting to try and drop Yair, or were you wanting that third car in there to make it a little bit harder and more unpredictable for Evan?
No, he was okay there. I didn't mind him. As long as he didn't get by me, then it was all good. But
Well,
I was hoping maybe to get in front of Evan and have those two battle a little bit. But I tried with 2 laps to go to get by him in turn 1, and it didn't work. So then I just decided to try and get him in the last lap, and it didn't work out so well.
Well, you still managed to get onto the podium, and you do have a win this season, so you're still looking handy if you can show up at a few more. I'm assuming you're going to try and come to a few more since you've got to get your attendance in order.
Yeah, I'll plan to make the rest of them unless some things pop up. Plan to make the first ones also, but there's just some things got in the way. But no, hopefully I'll get the participation back over 50% so I can challenge Evan for the championship.
Such is the life of the sim racer, I suppose. Thanks for coming and talking to us.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
Well, we've now wound up the interviews, thankfully. Sorry for doing a few more than usual. But we want to thank Blondies Bar, the official sponsor of the MX-5 World Tour. Also, thanks to the Quality Racing Syndicate who organized this series, and they do a lot of work to make this thing kick off. Also, thanks to iRacing.com, XSplit, Twitch TV, Audio Technica, Behringer, and AverMedia, the software and hardware that we use to make these broadcasts possible. Thanks to the team today, Ayrton, Bill, and Kevin, and also special thanks to Amjad for streaming his view. You can go back and watch the race and switch back and forth and see what he saw to get to that 4th position. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and race highlights. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. Thanks goes out to Dougie Beard, who creates all the camera sets for the Global Sim Racing Channel, and a special thank you to Eric Ekholm, whose music is not only found here on GSRC, but in TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes, and Spotify. If you like our music, tell Eric where you heard it at Eric Ekholm on Twitter. Additional thanks to Casey Lalonde, who also provides us with the music for our broadcasts. You can find more of his music at caseylalonde.bandcamp.com, including his latest album, Floating Rooms, which was released this season for $10. Our next race, as we mentioned, is Lime Rock. That'll be Saturday, November 1st at 2 p.m. Eastern. It'll be a double header. First the chicane and then the regular Lime Rock course. Don't miss that one. It'll be a first for this series. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and I'll see you on the track.